Most people spend their entire lives locking their front doors against strangers in the dark, entirely unaware that the person who will eventually dismantle their life already has a key. Think about the reality of your daily existence. You are sitting at a crowded table at a restaurant. You reach for the check, covering the bill for the group because you are a generous person. You think you are building loyalty. You believe you are solidifying your place in the tribe. But look across that table. There is someone smiling warmly, offering a toast to your kindness, while quietly calculating exactly how much they can extract from you. Tomorrow, they do not see a friend. They see an ATM with a heartbeat. They see a resource to be managed. The knife that finds your back is almost never held by a stranger. It is handed to you by someone you taught how to hold it. We are biologically wired to fear the predator in the shadows, the loud adversary who screams their hatred to our face. We build walls to keep the enemy out, but that is an outdated survival mechanism. An enemy at the gates is a threat, but a parasite at the table is a death sentence. Today, we are going to strip away the romantic illusions you have built around friendship, loyalty, and human decency. We are going to look at the brutal mechanics of human nature precisely as Niccolò Machiavelli understood them over 500 years ago. Machiavelli knew that the stranger cannot hurt you because you do not let the stranger in. You keep your guard up, but for a friend you open the gate. You lower the drawbridge. You expose the soft underbelly of your mind, and that is exactly why betrayal from within is never a battle. It is an execution. You operate under the naive assumption that if you are good to people, they will naturally be good to you. You view relationships through the lens of morality, fairness, and mutual respect. This is a fatal miscalculation. The world does not operate on fairness. It operates on leverage and necessity. When you bleed yourself dry to help a friend get a job, or when you sit by the phone for hours listening to their manufactured crises, you believe you are making an emotional investment in a shared future. You believe you are building an unshakable bond. But what if the person on the other end of the line operates on a completely different psychological wavelength? What if they view your kindness not as a gift to be cherished, but as a glaring weakness to be exploited? What if your empathy is nothing more than a green light for their ambition? The tragedy of betrayal is that it is never a sudden, explosive event. It is a slow, methodical, and invisible extraction of your resources, your status, your energy, and your peace of mind. Most people wait for a cinematic catastrophe, a loud argument, a blatant act of theft, a sudden declaration of open war. They wait for the blood to spill before they finally acknowledge that they have been sleeping next to a predator. But the true Machiavellian manipulator does not announce their arrival with trumpets. They slip into your life, disguised as your greatest supporter. They laugh a little too hard at your jokes. They validate your deepest insecurities. They act as a soothing balm for your ego, all while learning the intricate architecture of your mind, so they know exactly which load-bearing walls to knock down when the time is right. Machiavelli stated plainly that men are ungrateful, fickle, pretenders, and dissemblers. He did not say some men. He did not specify that this rule only applies to criminals or the overtly malicious. He was diagnosing base human nature. The fake friend does not betray you because they harbor some cartoonish, innate evil or deep-seated hatred for you. In fact, it is rarely personal. They betray you because you are standing in the way, or because your destruction provides useful fuel for their own social ascent. To them, the relationship is not a sacred sanctuary. It is simple arithmetic. If they have an immediate need to feel superior, and your recent success makes them feel small, they will subtly sabotage you to restore their own internal equilibrium. This is the concept of the zero-sum ego. For a parasite, your rise feels like their fall. It is the physics of power. Envy is entirely silent, and because it is silent, it is the most dangerous emotion in the human spectrum. You might be asking yourself why this keeps happening to you. Why does the person you comforted through a devastating breakup suddenly smile with a faint glint of satisfaction when your own marriage starts to fracture? Why does the colleague you mentored take all the credit for your joint project the moment management enters the room? It happens because you are living in a sanitized, fictional version of reality where good deeds are cosmically rewarded. You are fundamentally blind to the silent economy of power that governs every single interaction you have. You assume everyone plays by your rules of empathy and gratitude. They do not. They play by the rules of survival, convenience, and self-interest. You project your own honorable intentions onto ruthless players, doing their camouflage work for them. To survive in this environment, you must accept that the people around you are not operating on the same moral framework that you are. You must stop waiting for a monster to reveal its fangs in the daylight and start looking for the microscopic anomalies in their behavior when they think you are not paying attention. The danger in your inner circle is not a monolith. It comes in very specific, highly recognizable psychological profiles. To defeat them, you must first learn how to categorize them and name their tactics. You must stop viewing your social circle through the romantic lens of loyalty and start viewing it through the cold lens of leverage. Because right now, there are 3 distinct masks being worn by the people closest to you, and until you learn to recognize the faces underneath, you are entirely defenseless. You are entirely defenseless until you learn to recognize the faces underneath the masks. To unmask a hidden enemy, you must first understand the specific camouflage they have chosen to wear in your presence. People operate under the naive assumption that a fake friend acts purely out of malice or hatred. But in the real world, malice is messy and emotional. A true social parasite operates on a highly specialized extraction model. They do not want to destroy you instantly, because a dead host provides no nourishment. They want to systematically siphon your resources, your social standing, your emotional bandwidth, or your private information. To achieve this without triggering your psychological alarms, they adopt one of 3 carefully calibrated archetypes. They do not come at you with drawn swords. They come at you armed with tailored personas. The first mask is the Amplifier. Modern society incorrectly labels this person as the ultimate hype man or the aggressively supportive friend. They are the ones who validate your every grievance and applaud your most impulsive, destructive decisions. Imagine you are intensely frustrated with a manager or a colleague, and you vent your anger to the Amplifier over drinks. Instead of offering a grounded perspective or cautioning you to maintain your professionalism and protect your career, the Amplifier pours gasoline directly on the fire. They tell you that your anger is entirely justified, that you are a victim of profound disrespect, and that you should march into the office tomorrow and demand retribution. When you pitch a half-baked, highly risky financial or social idea, they do not ask the hard questions a true ally would ask. They tell you it is sheer genius and that anyone who doubts you is simply intimidated by your potential. This behavior feels incredibly good in the moment. It feels like unconditional loyalty and blind support. But it is an elaborate, calculated trap. The Amplifier is not investing in your success. They are accelerating your self-destruction. In the cold mechanics of power, a true ally challenges you because your long-term survival directly benefits them. The Amplifier, however, feeds your ego specifically to blind your judgment. They want you to become arrogant, reckless, and isolated. By encouraging your worst instincts, they push you toward the cliff edge, ensuring that when you finally fall, their hands are entirely clean. They get the quiet thrill of watching a competitor eliminate themselves from the board, and they get to play the sympathetic bystander when the dust settles. An enemy at the gates is a threat, but a parasite at the table is a death sentence. The Amplifier is the parasite that kills you with a smile and a round of applause. The second mask is the Leech, though you likely know them as the friend in constant, unending crisis. Their life is a chaotic theater of self-inflicted wounds and dramatic emergencies. There is always a toxic relationship going up in flames, a sudden financial catastrophe, or a bitter dispute with their inner circle. And in every single act of this exhausting play, you are cast in the role of the savior. You spend your weekends talking them off the ledge. You loan them money you will never see again. You jeopardize your own focus and commitments to pull them out of the wreckage they created. You tolerate this massive drain on your life because it strokes a deeply hidden vanity within you, the desire to feel indispensable, to feel noble, to be the competent anchor in someone else's storm. You mistake their desperate, drowning grip for a profound emotional bond. But Machiavellian strategy requires you to look at the brutal math of the situation, not the emotion. The Leech does not want solutions. They want your energy. Energy, focus, and time are the most critical currencies in the game of power. If you are constantly pouring your mental reserves into the bottomless pit of someone else's manufactured drama, you are not building your own empire. You are stalled. The dark test for the Leech is remarkably simple. Observe what happens when you are the one bleeding. The moment you face a genuine crisis, the Leech suddenly vanishes. Their phone goes straight to voicemail, or worse, they listen to your problem for exactly 60 seconds before aggressively pivoting the conversation back to their own misery. They cannot hold space for your pain because your pain does not serve their extraction model. They use your empathy as a battery pack, and when you are drained, they simply detach and look for a new host to consume. The third mask is perhaps the most dangerous of all. This is the Archivist. They do not flatter you aggressively like the Amplifier, and they do not drain you openly like the Leech. They operate exclusively in the shadows of forced, emotional intimacy. The Archivist is the quiet confidant. They are the ones who sit across from you late at night, asking deep, probing questions under the guise of profound concern. They lean in and say, "You've seemed really on edge lately. Tell me what is actually going on behind the scenes." They invite you to lower your heavy armor, to confess your deepest insecurities, your private struggles, your quiet resentments toward your peers. They create a masterful, artificial safe space, making you feel profoundly seen and understood. But the Archivist is not holding space for your vulnerability. They are taking a meticulous inventory. They are hoarding your secrets, your fears, and your weaknesses like ammunition in a subterranean vault. In the Machiavellian worldview, information is leverage. And leverage is absolute power. Once the Archivist has mapped the entire landscape of your mind, they begin to subtly weaponize it through plausible deniability. They do not attack you openly. Instead, they use the backhanded compliment in a crowded room. They will look at you in front of your peers and say, "You did remarkably well on that presentation today, considering how overwhelmed and unstable things have been for you lately." To the uninitiated, it sounds like genuine praise, but you know exactly what they just did. They planted a seed of doubt. They broadcasted your internal weakness to the tribe, chipping away at your reputation while maintaining the flawless illusion of friendship. If you attempt to confront the Archivist, you will crash into a wall of masterclass gaslighting. They will widen their eyes, look deeply wounded, and accuse you of being paranoid and ungrateful. They will twist the narrative so flawlessly that you end up apologizing for your own entirely justified intuition. The Archivist smiles, they listen, they nod, and all the while they are drafting the precise blueprint for your social or professional assassination. Recognizing the Amplifier, the Leech, and the Archivist is a deeply disturbing process. As you listen, specific faces have likely flashed across your mind, bringing a sick feeling to your stomach. But identifying the masks these hidden enemies wear is only the first step out of the fog. The far more terrifying question is not how they operate, but why they selected you to wear them around in the first place. The terrifying question is not how these hidden enemies operate, or what specific masks they wear to disguise their intentions. The much harder, far more disturbing question is why they selected you to wear them around in the first place. Think about a standard, everyday workplace dynamic. A colleague drops the ball on a major project. Panic sets in. Because you pride yourself on being a team player, a reliable ally, and a fundamentally good person, you step into the gap. You stay late, drink the terrible office coffee, and systematically fix their catastrophic errors. You salvage the presentation and save their professional reputation. When it is over, they thank you profusely. They call you a lifesaver. You walk away feeling a warm sense of camaraderie, genuinely believing you have forged a bond of mutual loyalty. You think you just bought an insurance policy for the future. You think they owe you. But fast forward 3 weeks, they drop the ball again. And this time, they do not even panic. They just look directly at you. You did not build an alliance. You built an incentive structure for your own exploitation. You taught them that your boundaries are entirely negotiable and your time is significantly cheaper than theirs. Here is the cold reframe, the dagger turn you must internalize if you want to survive. This is the moment you must kill the comforting illusions you have been clutching for years. It is time to stop playing the tragic victim of circumstance. You are not betrayed because you are cosmically unlucky. You are not repeatedly surrounded by users and manipulators because the universe has singled you out for a special kind of punishment. You are betrayed because you broadcast a very specific psychological frequency. You broadcast weakness disguised as kindness. You project your own highly idealized morality onto ruthless, pragmatic players, effectively doing their camouflage work for them. When you operate on the assumption that everyone values loyalty and reciprocal respect as much as you do, you are not being noble, you are being intellectually lazy. You are refusing to look at human nature exactly as it is, preferring instead the sanitized, fictional version of reality where good deeds are universally rewarded. The fake friend does not attach to you by accident. A parasite requires a very specific biological environment to thrive, and a social parasite is no different. They scan the room looking for the path of least resistance. They run continuous, low-level stress tests on the people around them before they ever commit to an extraction strategy. It starts incredibly small, a backhanded compliment disguised as a harmless joke, a minor favor requested at the most inconvenient time possible. A casual, unapologetic disregard for a plan you made together. They do this to observe your real-time reaction. If you smile through the disrespect, if you swallow your frustration and accommodate them anyway, you fail the test. You send a glaring, undeniable signal that your desperate need to be liked is far stronger than your self-respect. You hand them the exact blueprint required to dismantle your boundaries. You invited them in. You pulled out the chair for them. You forgot that an enemy at the gates is a threat, but a parasite at the table is a death sentence. And you set the table yourself. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the fatal liability of virtue. He observed that a man who insists on making a profession of goodness in everything must necessarily come to ruin among so many who are not good. He was not instructing his readers to become inherently evil or needlessly cruel. He was instructing them to become strategically adaptable. When you insist on being the bigger person in every scenario, when you endlessly forgive transgressions without demanding a tangible change in behavior, you become a predictable asset. Predictability is the absolute death of power. Your fake friends know exactly how you will react to their manipulation. They know you will rush to fill the awkward silence when they intentionally withhold their approval. They know you will over-explain your entirely reasonable decisions just to avoid their subtle, judgmental sighs. They know you will rationalize their bad behavior, telling yourself they are just stressed or going through a hard time. They have mapped the entire architecture of your guilt, and they use it to navigate your mind with absolute impunity. This realization is designed to sting. It should feel like a sharp slap to the ego. Your immediate instinct will be defensive. Your mind will frantically scramble to protect its self-image, whispering the comforting lie that you are simply a good person navigating a profoundly toxic world. You must kill that thought immediately. That thought is the invisible leash they have wrapped around your neck. The moment you take absolute, unapologetic responsibility for the dynamics you have permitted, you strip the manipulator of their power. You are no longer a passive victim of their psychological warfare. You are a willing participant who has simply, quietly, decided to stop playing the game. You shift your operating system from moral outrage to cold, clinical observation. Moral outrage is an emotion, and emotions cloud your judgment. When you accept that they were simply acting in their own ruthless self-interest, the anger evaporates. It is replaced by a terrifying, absolute calm. You cannot wait for an enemy to suddenly develop a conscience. Conscience is a luxury a manipulator cannot afford. Nor can you wait for them to make a catastrophic mistake on their own schedule. If you simply sit back and observe, the slow extraction of your resources will continue unabated. You must shift from the anxiety of the prey to the cold control of the architect. If you created the conditions for their infiltration by broadcasting weakness, you can now create the precise conditions for their exposure by broadcasting calculated traps. You must stop hoping they will reveal their true face naturally and start applying controlled psychological pressure to crack their mask. when they think you are not looking. Once you strip away your own naive illusions and accept your active role in the dynamic, you can begin actively setting the traps required to force their hand. Actively setting the traps required to force their hand means fundamentally abandoning the passive, helpless role of the victim. You cannot simply sit back and hope that time or circumstance will eventually reveal their true colors. Time is the exact resource the parasite uses to quietly dismantle your life. In the realm of Machiavellian strategy, waiting for a hidden enemy to voluntarily step into the light is a luxury afforded only to the weak and the naive. The architect of their own reality does not wait for a natural disaster to see if the foundation is stable. They manufacture controlled seismic events. They run simulations. They apply deliberate, calculated pressure to observe where the cracks appear. I call these the provocation protocols. They are small, virtually undetectable psychological stress tests designed to crack the mask of the fake friend for just a fraction of a second. You only need them to slip for a millisecond to see the cold machinery whirring beneath the surface. The first provocation is the flaw test, a masterful exercise in controlled vulnerability. You understand that the Archivist mask thrives on harvesting your secrets, so you decide to feed them a synthetic one. You manufacture a piece of information that appears to be a deeply personal anxiety or a professional weakness, but is in reality entirely fabricated or strategically harmless. You might pull them aside in a quiet moment and confess, "I am really struggling with my confidence on this new project. I feel like management is looking for a reason to replace me." Or you might hint at a fictitious tension in your private life. Then you step back and you watch where that information travels. A true ally guards the vault. They keep the confession contained. A parasite immediately trades your vulnerability for social currency. They will run to your mutual peers under the guise of deep concern, whispering, "I am so worried about them. They seem really unstable lately." They are broadcasting your weakness to position themselves as the strong, stable alternative. When that whisper inevitably makes its way back to you, you have absolute, undeniable confirmation. You haven't lost anything real, but you have gained invaluable intelligence. You handed them a blank bullet, and they still chose to fire it directly at your back. The second provocation is the boundary flex, which is essentially the strategic deployment of the micro-no. Parasites, particularly those wearing the mask of the Leech, operate on the core assumption of your endless compliance. To expose them, you must abruptly interrupt that assumption. You wait for them to ask for a small, seemingly reasonable favor, something you would normally accommodate without a second thought to maintain the peace. They ask you to cover a shift, to review their work late at night, or to cancel your own minor plans to attend their mundane event. You look them in the eye and you simply say, "No, I won't be able to do that." You do not offer an elaborate, rambling excuse. You do not apologize profusely. You deliver a calm, flat, polite denial. You must then study their reaction as if you were studying a biological specimen under a microscope. A genuine friend accepts a boundary with grace. They might be mildly disappointed, but they respect your autonomy. A parasite reacts to the word no as if it were an act of physical violence, because their attachment to you is entirely transactional. A sudden breach of that transaction triggers immediate panic and hostility. They will instantly attempt to leverage emotional debt, aggressively listing the things they have done for you in the past. They will try to guilt trip you, or they will punish you with sudden, icy passive aggression. In that moment of manufactured friction, their true face is laid bare. They are not mourning the loss of a connection. They are panicking over the sudden loss of control. The third protocol is perhaps the most revealing, the success starvation test. Most people mistakenly believe that you test loyalty in the dark times. They think the ultimate metric of a friend is who stands by them in a crisis. This is a profound misjudgment of human nature. Misery loves company. The Leech and the Amplifier absolutely thrive when you are struggling, because your pain temporarily elevates their own relative status. The ultimate test of a hidden enemy is not how they react to your failure, but how they process your sudden, undeniable elevation. You must tell them about a massive victory. Tell them you secured a highly lucrative contract, that you are completely debt-free, or that you just received profound recognition from someone they admire. Do not listen to the words they say next. Watch their eyes. There is a specific, involuntary fraction of a second before the polite, congratulatory smile stretches across their face. In that microscopic window, you will see a flash of absolute coldness, a tightening of the jaw, a deadness in the eyes. It is the physical manifestation of their zero-sum ego violently rejecting your success. When the smile finally arrives, it will be brittle. The energy will be off. They will immediately attempt to puncture the balloon with a question disguised as prudence. That is amazing, but aren't you worried about the massive tax implications? Or that sounds great, just make sure you aren't being set up to fail. They cannot allow you to enjoy the high ground because your altitude makes them painfully aware of their own stagnation. Executing these provocation protocols shifts the entire balance of power in your life. You are no longer the anxious prey, constantly second-guessing your own intuition, wondering if you are just being overly sensitive or paranoid. You transform into the scientist in the laboratory, methodically running variables and recording the data. It is a profoundly empowering, deeply sobering shift in perspective. When you run these tests and the results come back positive for deception, the agonizing ambiguity dissolves. The fog of war lifts completely. You see the board with total, terrifying clarity, but clarity comes with a dangerous temptation. When the trap finally snaps shut, when the mask cracks and their true face is undeniably exposed in the cold light of day, your immediate primal instinct will be to demand justice. You will want to confront them, to scream, to expose their betrayal to the world. But in the cold, unforgiving game of power, emotional confrontation is a fatal mistake. In the cold, unforgiving game of power, emotional confrontation is a fatal mistake, and declaring war only hands your enemy a loaded weapon. When the trap you set finally snaps shut and the mask slips, a rush of adrenaline will flood your system. Your immediate primal instinct will be to demand justice. You will want to send that massive, scorching paragraph of text outlining every single way they have wronged you. You will want to call them out in the middle of the office or the friend group, tearing down their facade for everyone to see. You want the cinematic moment of righteous vindication where they hang their head in shame and admit they used you. You must kill this fantasy immediately. A true manipulator does not feel shame. They only feel strategy. If you explode, if you scream, if you accuse them of betrayal, you give them the ultimate gift. You give them a narrative. You look unstable, reactive, and paranoid. They will immediately adopt the mask of the wounded victim. They will widen their eyes, lower their voice, and tell everyone else in the group, I was just trying to help, and they completely snapped. I think they are going through a mental breakdown. You might be right, but you will still lose. The true Machiavellian response to a discovered traitor is not a loud explosion. It is a slow, freezing fade. I call this the art of the silent severing. You do not remove a malignant presence from your life by ripping it out with your bare hands and bleeding all over the floor. You remove it by quietly cutting off its blood supply until it shrinks, dies, and detaches entirely on its own. You must execute what is known as strategic starvation. Remember that a social parasite cannot exist without a host to feed on. They require a steady diet of your emotional currency to survive. The amplifier feeds on your artificially inflated ego. The leech feeds on your endless reservoirs of crisis management energy. The archivist feeds on your deeply personal, unguarded vulnerability. To neutralize them, without creating a massive blast radius, you do not attack. You simply close the vault. You become emotionally bankrupt. You become the most uninteresting, unrewarding person they have ever interacted with. Imagine you are sitting in a meeting or standing at a social gathering, and the archivist decides to drop one of their signature backhanded compliments to subtly undermine you in front of the group. Your old self would have instantly flushed with heat, scrambled to defend your reputation, or fired back with a passive-aggressive insult of your own. Both reactions feed their need for control. Your new self does something entirely different. You let the insult hang in the air. You look at them with dead, unblinking eyes for a fraction of a second longer than is socially comfortable. You do not smile, and you do not frown. You just nod slowly and say, "Interesting perspective," before calmly turning your attention to someone else. You offer absolutely nothing. No anger, no forced laughter, no desperate attempt to over-explain yourself. You become a psychological void. This reaction, or lack thereof, is profoundly terrifying to a manipulator. It is the social equivalent of pressing a button on a machine over and over again and getting no mechanical response. They panic internally because their established levers of control have suddenly vanished into thin air. If they push you and there is no resistance, only empty space, they lose their footing. They will try a few more times. They will try to bait you with a manufactured crisis to see if the leech mask still works. You simply reply, "That sounds difficult. I hope you figure it out," and you do not offer a single second of your time. They will try to flatter you to see if the amplifier mask still works. You reply with a flat thank you and change the subject to the weather. You strip every single interaction of its depth, its color, and its utility. You force them to sit in the unbearable, agonizing silence of their own irrelevance. You do not even need to formally ghost them, block them on every platform, or make a grand, dramatic exit. Ghosting is loud. Ghosting creates a sudden vacuum that demands attention and practically begs for a smear campaign in retaliation. A master strategist practices strategic proximity. You keep them at arm's length, entirely visible, but locked completely out of the citadel. You smile politely when you cross paths. You shake their hand. You maintain the flawless illusion of cordiality, but the information diet is absolute. You speak only in generic, useless platitudes. You tell them absolutely nothing about your next move, your financial status, your private relationships, or your inner fears. They have zero leverage, zero gossip to trade, and zero access to your energy. You treat them with the exact same mild, detached courtesy you would offer a stranger at a bus stop. There is a cold, clinical thrill in executing this level of effortless control. You get to stand directly in front of someone who used to ruin your entire week and feel absolutely nothing but a faint sense of anthropological curiosity, because you have made yourself completely useless to their specific extraction model. They will eventually have no choice but to pack up their psychological bags and move on to an easier, softer target. They will detach voluntarily because starvation leaves them no other option. You haven't made a loud, vindictive enemy who will spend the next year plotting your ruin in the shadows. You have simply engineered your own obsolescence in their game. You win the war without ever officially declaring it. But neutralizing the external threat only secures your perimeter. The final and most important battle must still be fought inside your own mind. The final and most important battle must still be fought inside your own mind, because an external perimeter is entirely useless if the architect leaves the gates unlocked from the inside. When you execute the silent severing and successfully purge the manipulators from your inner circle, you will inevitably be left with a void. A profound, uncomfortably heavy silence will settle over your daily life, where the manufactured drama and the shallow flattery used to be. For most people, this silence is absolutely terrifying. It triggers a primal, deep-seated fear of abandonment. They mistake the absence of noise for the absence of worth. And in their panic, they rush to fill the empty seats at their table with new faces, inevitably inviting the exact same parasites back into their lives, wearing slightly different masks. This is the tragic cycle of the chronic victim. They learn how to spot a fake friend, but they absolutely refuse to heal the fractured part of their own psychology that desperately craves the illusion of friendship. You must understand a fundamental law of biological and social physics. A parasite cannot attach to a perfectly healthy host. They do not have the mechanical ability to breach solid armor. They can only latch onto open wounds. The Amplifier, the Leech, and the Archivist were only able to infiltrate your life because you possessed specific, glaring, psychological vulnerabilities. Why did you tolerate the subtle disrespect of the Archivist? Because your baseline level of self-worth was so dangerously low that you preferred toxic company to sitting alone in a room. Why did you allow the Leech to drain your time and finances? Because you harbored a hidden, narcissistic need to be the savior, believing that making yourself indispensable was the only way to guarantee people would not leave you. Why did you fall so easily into the trap of the Amplifier? Because your ego was starving, and you were willing to trade your long-term stability for cheap, momentary hits of external validation. You were a walking banquet of insecurities, and they simply sat down to eat. To become permanently immune to fake friends, you do not just need better radar. You need a fundamentally different operating system. You must kill your desperate, pathetic need to be liked. It is the single greatest liability you possess. If you no longer crave their praise, the flatterer instantly loses all their leverage. If you no longer fear their quiet rejection, the saboteur has absolutely nothing to hold over your head. When you stop looking into the cracked mirrors of other people's opinions to figure out who you are, you become untouchable. You become a glitch in their system. The true Machiavellian player is not someone who runs around endlessly battling manipulators. The master player is someone who has cultivated such a profound level of self-reliance that manipulators simply slide right off them, entirely unable to find a point of entry. This requires you to entirely reframe your relationship with isolation. Society conditions you to view loneliness as a deficit, a sign that you are failing at the human experience. But in the game of power, solitude is not a punishment. It is a fortress. Niccolo Machiavelli did not write his masterworks while surrounded by adoring crowds or loyal courtiers. He was stripped of his titles, exiled from the city he loved, and forced into quiet isolation in the countryside. In that heavy, unbroken silence, devoid of the petty social games of Florence, he achieved ultimate clarity and secured his immortality. When you learn to sit comfortably in the silence of your own company, you strip the world of its primary weapon against you. You transition from the agonizing deficit of loneliness to the impregnable surplus of absolute autonomy. You stop collecting people like cheap souvenirs to make your life look full, and you start evaluating them as high-risk investments. Going forward, you must restructure your entire understanding of the word friend. You must stop casting that sacred word before swine. The vast majority of the people you will meet in your lifetime belong strictly in the category of useful allies or pleasant acquaintances. They are there for mutual utility, professional advancement, or simple, shallow distraction. You treat them with polite respect. You enjoy their presence on sunny days, but you never hand them the keys to the citadel. You understand that their loyalty is contingent upon the alignment of your goals, and when those goals shift, they will shift. You accept this cold reality without a single drop of bitterness. True allies, the rare, tested few who will look you in the eye and tell you the ugly truth while defending your name in a crowded room, are the exception, not the rule. Until you find them, you must be entirely comfortable standing with empty hands. Imagine yourself walking into a crowded room tomorrow. You are no longer the anxious participant, desperately scanning the faces around you, hoping to be accepted, hoping someone will validate your existence. You are the architect. You stand near the edge of the room, entirely self-contained, observing the petty social mechanics unfolding before you. You watch the sycophants laughing too hard. You spot the energy vampires cornering their next naive victim. You see the silent economy of power operating exactly as it always has. But this time, you are not caught in the gears. You see reality precisely as it is, and you feel absolutely nothing but ironclad confidence. The world is heavily populated by wolves in sheep's clothing, endlessly searching for a door left cracked open by a naive heart. You finally understand that while an enemy at the gates is a threat, a parasite at the table is a death sentence, and you have permanently closed the dining room. They will undoubtedly look for a victim tomorrow. Make sure they only find a wall. If you are ready to stop playing the victim and start learning the forbidden laws of human nature, you know where to find the rest of the blueprints. Welcome to the 1%.